Hi folks, John with the Wingman 115 channel. I'm with my good friend Jaime. He's no stranger to the channel. Today, I thought I would shake things up a bit. Now, most of you know, if you've been following along on the channel, I've been around for quite a while on YouTube, since I want to say 2006. So with that, I've had a chance to do a lot of great stuff on the channel, film a lot of reviews, do a lot of great trips. And what I thought I would do today is just talk about my philosophy of doing gear reviews. There's a lot of folks out there that want to get into this genre of filming sort of like adventure-based style stuff. As you can see, Jaime's getting his gear ready for, we're going to be doing a video later on some of his gear loadout. But I thought I would take you through my process of how I do a video gear review from pretty much start to finish. We're going to go over how I prepare. We're going to go over the gear that I use to shoot a video. I'll even take you inside and show you the editing process of how we edit stuff, and where you don't need to spend tons of money to do that. So with that, I hope you find this video entertaining, and I hope you learn something in the process. It's going to be fun. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while to kind of help give back to the community, because I get a lot of questions on stuff, on what sort of cameras I use and things like that. Well, I'm starting to ramble. So I'm going to cut away and I'll show you the first process of preparation. So with anything that you do, you always want to follow the 6 P's, right? Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And in my opinion, that if you're going to do a video review, you got to be prepared. As a viewer, when I watch videos out there, if somebody is always saying make reference to the manufacturer's website or this or that, if they're using that every other breath, then I'm sorry, you didn't prepare for the video. I think, my personal opinion, that you're doing a disservice as a reviewer when you start going down that rabbit hole. So here's what I do. I'm going to flip the screen around real quick. Before I even hit the woods, I make myself show notes. Now, for anyone that's followed the channel, I have always referred to my show notes in past videos. If I don't know something, I will always cut away and say, I'm going to reference my show notes. So these show notes happen to be on my knife design from Work Tough Gear, the Mount Laguna. So I'll put down, and I do stuff like this for probably 99% of every knife review or gear review that I do. I put down the main bullet points. Like for this, the steel, the overall length, the blade length, the Rockwell hardness, the handles, just all the pertinent information. Because I'm sorry, when you get out there and the camera's on, most of the time you're going to be like deer in the headlights. You've got 99 things that you're thinking about, and the one thing you're not thinking about is your show notes. So I always look at my show notes before I start shooting, and I have it on everything. Like today, I'm doing multiple videos out here. So I have show notes on everything that I do, and I read them and I study them before I get out in the field. That way I can speak to something with a little bit of authority on it. Next, let's talk about gear. Now, you don't need no super high speed film gear like we have here. This is a culmination of many years of doing this. What I'm shooting on right now, this video, is an iPhone. And the most important thing about video production is going to be the content. It's not going to be the actual quality of the video. If the content's good, people are going to watch. What I normally use for most of my videos, if I'm not doing running and gunning videos and I'm using the iPhone here, I'm using a Canon Vixia and this is their HFG40. This one shoots in 1080. This was the Cat's Meow a couple of years ago, and as you guys know, as soon as you buy something, I'm sorry, it's obsolete. So you just use the stuff you have, push it, learn everything about it, and try to use it to its potential. So with this setup, I like it because it's just quick and easy peasy. A lot of times I'm just shooting guerrilla filming. I'm by myself and it's hard. I shot with a DSLR for a couple of years, a Canon T3i. It didn't have autofocus, so it just created a lot of work for me out in the field. So I kind of retired the DSLR and I went back to the camcorder, and I think that's the way to go if you're not using your phone. Now, the phones nowadays, especially like this iPhone 11, it can shoot 4K. But keep in mind, if you're shooting 4K, it's going to take up a lot of storage space. So with that said, I use my video camera. Sound, the most important thing. I use these Rode links, and they work really good. They work off of Wi-Fi, and they have their own Wi-Fi system. And what I found one time, I used some cheap radio frequency ones at SHOT Show, and I had a great interview with somebody who was incognito, and we were near the Glock booth, and all of a sudden the Glock security radios were cutting in on my cheap radio frequency ones. So I went out. I'm a big advocate of buy once, cry once, and I spent the money and invested in these Rode links. Now, word to the wise, always come out with extra set of batteries, because I guarantee everything's going to work great till you get out here on location, and then all of a sudden your batteries don't work. The same goes for your video camera. Invest in extra batteries. Invest in batteries with a long life. These will last a couple hours. But I always have multiple batteries, because when you get out on location, I got batteries there too, and chargers, and you get out on location, I'm telling you, crazy stuff's going to happen, and you don't want to miss awesome footage because you didn't properly prepare. It goes back to the 6 P's, right? So we talked about show notes. We talked about a little bit about gear. The next, we'll talk about production. Now, video production is probably the most subjective thing in this video, because it all depends on you. What story do you want to tell? What emotion are you trying to convey? Do you want a cool backdrop with your video? Most of the time, the backdrop isn't really going to matter. It's the content that you're putting out that's going to matter. There's times where I've had to shoot a lot of videos at home just because of fire danger in places like this. Like yesterday, it was 100 plus and they had winds 50, 60 miles an hour. It just wasn't logistically smart to come out here and film. So you have to think what's surrounding, but most of all, what's the content and how do I want to convey it? Next, I'm going to say is screen presence. You want to practice being in front of the camera. The worst thing you want to do is sit there and every other word is oh. Trust me, I've been there. It's taken me a while to get over that. And the biggest advice is that I got from folks that have been on like reality shows and stuff like that is to talk to this camera like I'm talking to a person. And we're just having a conversation. So if I talk to the camera like I'm talking to a person, then one, it's showing my personality a little bit more, and I'm able to have a conversation and articulate. See, I said it right there, because I'm searching for words, but I'm able to articulate my words and I'm able to convey a thought a lot better than being the deer in the headlights scared mode. So the best thing with these smartphones is to sit and practice. talk about your favorite piece of gear and just practice, and then go back and look at it and critique it. The best thing is have a friend look at it and critique it, because they'll see things that you didn't see. You may have misspoke, you may have stuttered. I do it all the time. The worst thing for me is, because I grew up in northern Maine, mom's French Canadian, dad's Irish, I always say survival instead of survival. It's just one of the things. But I'll tell you what, every time I say survival, I get 15 or 20 comments on a video saying, oh, you're doing a video, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You can't even say survival correct. Well, big deal. Get over it. You just got to learn to, one, have a thick skin, but the most important part is you got to be able to laugh, and you got to be able to laugh at yourself and have a good time. If you don't, then my suggestion is don't be a video gear reviewer, because there's going to be trolls. There's going to be keyboard commandos that do nothing other than sit home, and they got nothing else to do. They probably never got dirt on their boots, dirt on their Jeep. They're just sitting at home, and they got nothing better to do but to bitch and moan and complain and to try to get you triggered. So let's talk about those people next. Being a gear reviewer, you're going to get a lot of comments. You're going to get folks asking you a lot of questions, unfortunately, like you are the project manager for that company. There's a lot of times I get emails or comments, and they're asking me questions like I'm the owner of the company. And folks got to keep in mind, you're just a reviewer. It's like if you were writing a magazine article and you're getting a hold of the author like they're the designer of the knife or the product that they're reviewing or talking about. It's just crazy. But folks are looking to you because you're talking about that item, and you're speaking to it in a way that is kind of like project manager-ish. So you got to keep that in mind. Be respectful to folks, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what their intention is. I always try to think of the best intentions of people leaving comments. Now, I ain't gonna lie. There's people out there that are just plain evil, and they're leaving nasty comments. Trust me, I'm gonna hear it all the time. You're short, you're fat, you're hairy, you're this, you're that, you can't talk, blah, 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 blah. How do you deal with those type of people? It's real easy. You have a channel, you are the editor, you're able to delete those comments and hide those people from the channel. So what I found out, I used to engage in these idiots years ago. I don't do it anymore. Why? Because they're energy vampires. And energy vampires are going to suck the life out of you, and they're going to steal your mojo. And that's what they try to do. So what you do is just delete the comment. Just delete it. Don't even engage. It's no big deal. I would highly suggest, if you're going to be a gear reviewer, to buy the book called The Four Agreements by Dr. Don Miguel Ruiz. He turned me on to that book. One was be impeccable with your word. But the two is you can't control what other people are going to say and are going to do. And you just got to let it go.
Don't take anything personal.
You can't take it personal, yeah. And especially if you're going to be a gear reviewer, whether, hey, newsflash, whether you want to believe it or not, you're going to be regarded as a public figure. So as a public figure, if you're not willing to put your big boy or big girl pants on and your boots, then you're in the wrong genre. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. I give you straight talk on this channel. I'm not going to BS anybody. But that's enough about the trolls. Now, let's talk about my gear setup. I'm going to set up my camera and how I go about doing all that stuff. So this is my setup as I shoot. So I always double check things. Like my sound, I make sure it's on and both of the transmitter and the receiver are synced. I always double check down here to make sure sound is going through the mic. Always make sure I'm in frame correctly. And that's the good thing about having a remote, is that I'm able to zoom in, zoom out, start, do things like that and play around. You always want to try to plan your shot. Now, we're not going to talk a lot about cinematography because there's a lot better authorities out there on cinematography than me, but you always want to look at your surrounding. You always want to see what's in the background and such. And that's going to play a huge deal in what you're doing. You don't want things that are going to distract from you telling your story. So you want to keep that in mind. Plan this out like you're shooting a movie. With that said, when I said plan this out like you're shooting a movie, one of the best resources that I ever bought, and I'll leave a link in the video description below on all the books and resources that we talked about, the 4 agreements, and then this book that I'm going to showcase, and it's called How to Shoot Video That Doesn't Suck. And it's from a guy named Steve Stockman. Steve Stockman is a video director and producer of commercials. And he's basically teaching you and telling you how to tell a story in the shortest amount of time. If you look at a commercial on TV and say it's a car commercial takes you from start to finish. There's a beginning, an ending, and there's a plot in the middle, and they're trying to capture a feeling or an emotion in that commercial. So homework, as you're watching commercials on TV or even on my videos, take a look at how those commercials are made. Study everything. If you're going to be a gear reviewer, if you're going to be one of these adventure cinematographers, you have to tell a story. You have to tell a story either verbally or, most importantly, through visual effects. That's a lot of time, like when I do cutaways and I always show my products up close and personal. I'm doing that because it's easier to convey a thought, an idea, by showing you up close. Remember, learning is part of visual and also a part of hearing. So if you can see it and hear it, that goes a long way. Obviously, you can't physically do it through the video, but using those 2 types of learning lessons and learning tactics, you can convey an idea, you can convey a thought on your video, on your topic. Now, also with your show notes, you have a production plan. You're going to come in, you're going to shoot your intro, name who you are, what your intention is, let people know what you're doing. If you don't, remember, people's attention span is only maybe a couple seconds. So if you don't hook that person in the first couple seconds, guess what? They've clicked off your video and they're going somewhere else. They're going to watch people light their farts on fire. They're going to do whatever they're going to do on YouTube. It's just crazy. But you want to keep it entertaining. You want to keep it visually pleasing. And you don't want a shot that is going to sit for a lot of seconds. So especially if you're not talking, you want to do cutaway shots of only a couple seconds. Remember, those commercial videos, they're telling a story in like 40 seconds. So you can tell a lot on video within a 2-second shot. So with that, let's talk about B-roll. Now, you're probably wondering, John, what the heck is B-roll? B-roll is stuff that is filler video. Say you're telling a story about this Jeep. Well, it's easy for me just, I got a Jeep and this and that. But if I cut away and I show you the Jeep, say I'm talking about the tires, I cut in close and we talk about the tires and I show you all the details of it, it goes a long way. It makes it more entertaining. Or if you're instructing, it makes it easier for the person to learn about the subject matter. So if we're talking about this Jeep, I would probably go around and show you, well, I'm going to cut away and I'm going to show you. I would probably show you up close stuff like this as I'm talking. And then I would cut away and show you stuff like this. And then we would go in and show things like this. Or I would show video of where we're at, maybe the dirt road and we're driving. Or a lot of times the drone activity. I have a drone and I'm flying over the trees and I'm showing the countryside. And I'm taking you along on this journey. That's what B-roll is. When I cut away and I show you that product up close and personal, or if I go into my final thoughts and I show you that item, I'm putting in B-roll to help tell that story and to convey that thought. If you don't have sidekicks on your channel that help you out, i.e. friends like Jaime over there, my nephew Jared, my other nephew Nick, my airgun guru, I go to these guys. These guys specialize in certain things. When I want to know about uber high-speed stuff, I go to this guy over here. Knife sharpening, this guy can sharpen a knife. And we're going to do a knife sharpening video one of these days because it's like samurai stuff. It's just crazy. So I bring in people that are very knowledgeable. When you're doing videos, you don't have to be the end-all, know-all. You know, I go back to the Rocky Bullwinkle where Rocky always used to say, hey, Mr. Know-It-All, you don't have to be the know-it-all on everything. Bring in people that are going to help you, and you're going to learn in the process. I've always said in my videos that I'm constantly learning, and it's a journey with you folks. And that's what I'm kind of doing with this video. I want to help folks and I want to level folks up. So whether you're shooting that family video, whether you're just doing a vlog or whatever, it's going to help you out. So now let's talk about your intro. Always have some sort of intro. We talked about that. Then the meat and potatoes, whether you're doing action stuff on a gear review or you're table talking. Now, I was guilty of this when I first started, talking hands. My biggest pet peeve, and I don't like to say hate, but I really don't like talking hands. I just don't. When I see a lot of talking hand videos, and I was guilty of it in the beginning too, and that's part of the learning phase. So I'm trying to, as they say with what's going on, level the curve. I'm trying to level the curve to help bring you up to speed a lot faster. Talking hands, for me, are terrible. Unless you're doing some hands-on stuff like knot tying videos, soldering, you're making something and you really got to see that intricate detail, then yeah. But if the whole review is just talking hands, showing this the whole time, I'm sorry, I'm going to click out and go elsewhere because there's a lot of other videos on there that are being uploaded. I mean, just crazy every minute on YouTube. Now, for me, doing gear reviews, I like coming out here because I can use the gear in a real world environment. Whether it's a backpack, whether it's the Jeep, I'm an overlander, whether it's a knife, an axe, a piece of camping equipment, whether it's a tent, just fill in the blank. You want to come out, use the gear so you can speak to it if you can. If you can't, use a park. If you have big property in a backyard, use your backyard, but use the gear so you can speak to it and show folks how to use it. So I do my intro, I do my product up close kind of specs rundown. This is what I do. Your mileage is going to vary, and you always want to do what is going to be comfortable for you. And then I do like my skills stuff, and then I go to what's known as my final thoughts. Final thoughts. I always do, probably because it's the military in me, and every time something would happen, we'd always do like an after action report. Well, this is my way of, instead of going, this is an after action report, and not looking like some wannabe, meal team 6 type of dude. I never want to be a poser like that. I always do like final thoughts. So with final thoughts, I usually do a recap. I'll give you my honest opinion on stuff. Don't sit and blow sunshine up people's rectoids on stuff, because trust me, you are going to be called out like crazy. People are looking to you for honest, ethical, and truthful reviews. And to me, I look at it this way. You spend a lot of money. You work hard for your money. And the money that you spend, I want you to get the biggest bang for the buck. I've always said that on this channel. That has been kind of like my ethos, is for you to get the best value, because I realize how hard folks work, and especially now with this economy, the value of the dollar. So you have a lot of influence, especially as your channel starts going, on how stuff is going to sell or not. And if something's a piece of crap, there was a few items on this channel. You can scroll back through the videos where I stopped in the middle of a review and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this item. I do not recommend this item, and such like that. What I would highly suggest is this: test the gear out before. If an item is a uber piece of crap, get a hold of the company and let them know that you had a problem with stuff. Case in point, years ago, company sent me a slingshot knife combo. I was using the slingshot and they had a design flaw on how the bands attached to the slingshot. Wasn't wearing glasses, which I should have. Shame on me. One of the bands came off and snapped me right by the eye. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if that had hit me in the eye, it would have been a bad day. So I kind of thought, well, maybe that's a one-time thing. Maybe it's me. I started looking at the item. Put glasses on, shooting it. After 5 or 10 minutes, it happens on the other side. So I contacted the project manager for that company. First off, they were kind of like, well, we tested it and our people didn't have any problem with it. I said, yeah, but you got to understand, the way that you guys test stuff is different than the way real world test stuff. And people, if you're working for the company and you're testing out the gear, it's kind of like Elvis syndrome, where you're afraid to tell the truth, because if you told Elvis the truth, he'd fire your ass. And then he would come back a week later and buy you a Cadillac. Well, corporate America doesn't do that. They're going to fire your ass, and then you're never going to work in this town again, sort of stuff, like the movie producers say. So I told the project manager, I said, hey, this is what's happening, and I'm not going to do a video on this because I think it's unsafe. To me, this item was geared towards teenagers, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys. They're going to use stuff extreme, and someone's going to get hurt, and you guys are going to have liability lawsuits like crazy. So I was talking with a fellow YouTube gear reviewer who happened to have the same prototype. They had a couple prototypes that they had sent out just to do test and evaluation. And in conversation, they had the same problem. So they got a hold of the company as well and let them know. Well, I'll tell you what, they went back, extreme tested the gear. They started having failures. They pulled the product off the line, revamped it, came out with a modification that worked. And their president of the company called me and thanked me and said, you know what, you probably saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in some sort of civil lawsuit because somebody got seriously injured with this product. So what you're doing is kind of twofold. One, you're educating the public, and two, you're also helping to level up these companies and improve their product. And if the companies that you're working with aren't willing to do that, then we need to not use their products. That's just plain and simple. So with that, recap, be truthful, be honest, value the viewer and their money, and give positive feedback to the companies. Now, positive feedback can also be, hey, your stuff doesn't work, and let them know. I give them usually the benefit of the doubt before I make a video go live, just so they're not blindsided with stuff. And it gives them a chance to fix it, and I get to hear what their response is, and I can also add that into a video if necessary. Out of all the videos I've done, almost 700, I've only had to do that, I think, maybe on 2 videos. So, I mean, the possibility of that happening is really low. Now you've done your final thoughts, whatever you want to call it. You have to find your personality and do you. You've wrapped up your video. Now, what do? For me, this is the most creative time, because now you have to tell a story in the editing process. And for me, I love being an editor more than I like being the talent in front of the camera or the cameraman, because now I get to cut, edit, add music, add the B-roll. I'm basically creating that movie. And what I use currently is iMovie. I have an iMac. I use iMovie. I've used iMovie for many years. But the thing is that I use it to the maximum of its capabilities. And a lot of people don't have the money to go out and spend $300, $400, $500 on Final Cut Pro or the Adobe Premiere and stuff like that. And I'm not taking away from that sort of editing software. I mean, those are some highly cinematic software editing programs. But I'm telling you, you can do a lot with iMovie and some of the basic stuff that comes out, and you can really push it. A lot of it has to do with color correcting and also adjusting audio. Audio is your biggest thing. If audio comes across all muffled, all garbled, people can't understand what you're saying, it could be visually appealing, they're going to click off and they're going to leave in droves. So you always want to make sure that your audio, most of all, is on point. There's a lot of great resources out there for music. I know for a lot of years, I used YouTube's music library. The only thing keep in mind is everybody and their cousin is using that. So a lot of times you're going to hear the same song on 1,000 different videos. So there's companies out there that sell royalty-free music. I use a company called, I'm going to mispronounce it, but I'll show it on the screen. I think it's called Epidemic or something like that. Excuse me if I mispronounce it. I'm from Maine, man. So I pay $15 a month. They have hundreds of thousands of songs, instrumentals, actual songs with lyrics that you can put in there. You can create any mood you want. They have every genre of music that you can even think about. It is a great resource. And if you're going to do this with any frequency, music really helps enhance the video process. So I would highly encourage you to pursue some sort of music genre that's going to allow you to do royalty-free music. Because the last thing you want, trust me, is a copyright strike against you. We'll talk about that in just a second. Copyright strikes. I've only had a handful, and a lot of time it's because of music usually playing in the background. Somebody drives up, they got their radio on, we're bebopping to some country song, and all of a sudden, boom, 2 months, 3 months down the line, my video gets flagged. And a lot of times, sometimes they've taken the music off. So you have to be aware of what is going on around you, but also what is playing in the background. Your car radio, you're sitting there talking and you're doing a vlog. A lot of people like to use their vehicles because it's a great sound booth. You get really good sound inside the car. And a song will be on the radio, and all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with a copyright strike. Or if you use certain photos of movies, I know stuff like Disney hires investigators. They go out and they look for ripoffs. They look if you're using their art. They look if you're using any of their images. They look if you're using any of their music. And they aggressively pursue. The last thing you want to do as a budding YouTube channel is get 3 strikes, because all of a sudden, guess what? They delete your channel and now you're gone, unless you start a new one. But who wants to start from scratch if you developed a base, you have a fan base? So you want to be mindful of that fact. You don't want to use copyrighted music, copyrighted images, copyrighted any sort of video. Fair use stuff you can use, news reports, things like that. I would highly suggest take responsibility, look into it on your own. There's a lot of great resources out there. There's a cool YouTube lawyer that talks a lot about stuff, and I'm going to try to find his link. I'll leave it in the video description below. And I'm going to say this 100 times. Look at the video description before you make comment. I do that all the time. I always say links in the video description below, and people do not read the video description. So what I've been doing is I've been pinning links in the comments. So a lot of times when you pin it, it stays up top in the comments section. So hopefully before they make a comment, they see that pin, and that saves you a lot of instant messages, emails, all that stuff. And we're going to talk about managing that process. Your channel's growing. All of a sudden, overnight, you have a viral video. It's gone 100,000 views in 24 hours. Sometimes that happens. I wish that would happen more on my videos, but we'll talk about that at the end. What you want to do now, you're being flooded with emails. Your comment box is blowing up like crazy. Over the years, I've been doing this, like I said, for a long time. I've tried to respond to every comment out there. But once your channel starts growing, it is tough. And I don't know about you, but I only have 24 hours in the day. And it doesn't matter how rich you are and how busy you are, we all have the same amount of time. I can't get out here and make content if I'm spending 5-6 hours a week answering stuff. So what I try to do is I look at every comment. I read every comment. I go through, if folks are asking legitimate questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. If folks are giving you kudos and stuff like that, a lot of times I'll answer them with an emoji, a thumbs up emoji, or a fist bump emoji. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know, but if I'm 5 or 10 minutes on a break at work, I'm on a lunch, I'm scrolling down through real quick, it's the easiest way to have the maximum effect to let those folks know, hey, I saw your comment, thank you. Now, trust me, I have an attitude of gratitude. I am so thankful, one, for everyone's time. I am so thankful especially that they took the time to leave a comment. They didn't have to. They could just click and cruise on, click and cruise on. So I try to acknowledge that. I either hit the heart or a thumbs up or a fist bump or a thumbs up emoji, or if it's a legit question, then I'll answer that question. If it's a mean question, people are just, like Dr. Evil says, evil, then I just delete that comment. I don't let that energy influence me, because you got to stay positive. You got to stay on the right track. You got to be focused on what you're doing. And like I said earlier, the comment section are like the wild, wild west. People are going to be hateful. There's people out there that are just evil, that are looking to leave nasty comments. So just blow by that. Think nothing of it. You have to get a thick skin if you're going to be in this game. Okay, we're going to wrap up this video because I have babbled for a while now. First off, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you if you folks have stayed along this journey to this part of the video. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It says a lot. It says that you folks, one, care about the channel, and you also want to learn and do the best that you can. My goal on this video is just plain and simple. I'm just trying to level up the community and to help folks out. Through my years of experience of doing this, the trials and tribulations, the thorns and roses, the wins and the losses, I'm trying to make that learning curve a lot shorter for you folks so we can have more quality content out there in our genre. We are the future leaders. This is the cyber community that we live in. And you are an influencer. If you're making videos, you are an influencer. You're an influencer in your community. You're an influencer in your sphere of influence of the people that you hang around. And also you are an influencer in the genre that we're in, this outdoor community that we're in. And it seems like now we're under attack more than ever in the outdoor type community. The algorithm is hiding our videos. A lot of us aren't in suggested videos, and that could be a topic for a future video. I could do that. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know. But we need more folks to help folks level up and learn, because a lot of folks aren't camping anymore. A lot of people aren't using gear, and the ones that do maybe never had a dad or mom that were able to take them out. Maybe they're inner city and they're unable to get out. Maybe they're disabled and they're not able to get out. And this is a way for them to see beautiful country and to be able to share a little bit of an experience with them. So my final thoughts to you are always stay positive, always have fun, and always keep it real. Be real. You don't want to approach people in public and they go, man, you're nothing like you were on video. You're an a-hole or whatever. You just don't want to be that way. You want to be honest and sincere, and you don't want to be a fake personality. You want to be a real person out here doing this stuff. People are going to like your stuff, and you got to get used to people aren't going to like your stuff. It's kind of like pizza. Some people like pizza with pepperoni. Some people don't. And that's okay. That's okay. And just be thankful. Be thankful, one, that we're able to get out here. Two, that we're able to do what we do. And three, thankful that we're making a lot of good friends like you out there. You folks out there, you matter. And I appreciate every view. I appreciate your time and your support over the years. Folks, this is John with Jaime way back there doing his own little Instagram shoot. And we'll see you on future videos. If you like this video and you're not a subscriber, hey, hit that subscribe button. But most of all, most importantly, if you don't want to subscribe, doesn't matter. Share this video. If you found value in this video, share it with a couple of your friends. There's a little button down there that says share. You can copy it, paste it, put it in your text message, send it to a friend. Maybe you know a young kid that is in high school that is looking to do this and maybe needs a little bit of help. I'm always willing to help people, and I will leave links in the video description below on everything I talked about, all the books, 4 agreements, shooting video that doesn't suck, and I'll look back and I'll remember the rest of the stuff that I talked about. But with that, take care, folks. Have fun, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.